The Zentari, an advanced and arrogant alien race, ruled the galaxy with unshakable confidence in their superiority. They were artisans of perfection, crafting cities that gleamed like crystals and adorning themselves with elegant attire woven from threads of light. Yet beneath their veneer of brilliance lay an obsession with aesthetics that bordered on cruelty. Anything deemed unsightly was discarded without hesitation. For to the Zentari, beauty was not just an ideal, but the cornerstone of existence. In the sprawling megacity of Valtrex Prime, one of the galaxy's most resplendent hubs, a peculiar creature scurried through the shadows. Frax was a creature born into a world that had no place for it. Its elongated limbs moved with an awkward, loping gait. Its translucent, bioluminescent skin shimmered faintly in the dark, and its mismatched eyes glowed faintly, one green, the other violet. To the Zentari, it was grotesque, a cruel joke of nature. Once a prized possession, Frax had been cast aside by its wealthy owners when its odd appearance became an embarrassment. It was left to fend for itself in the city's underbelly, a labyrinth of forgotten alleys and mechanical refuse. Frax sniffed at a pile of discarded food cartridges, its stomach growling. The scraps tasted metallic, but hunger dulled its preferences. It paused to lick at its sore paw, a wound earned in a narrow escape from a pack of scavengers. The streets were unkind to creatures like Frax, but it had learned to survive. Survival, however, was not the same as living. In its quiet moments, Frax often stared at the distant towers of Valtrex Prime, their tops lost in a shimmering haze, wondering if it would ever find a place where it belonged. The Zentari rarely glanced down at the shadows where Frax roamed. Their lives were consumed with grander pursuits, galactic politics, interstellar trade, and endless exhibitions of their own supposed perfection. Among them was Jintar, a high-ranking technocrat and former owner of Frax. Jintar had once displayed the creature as a rare curiosity, but quickly grew ashamed when guests snickered at its strange form. Without so much as a second thought, he ordered Frax discarded, replacing it with a sleeker, genetically modified pet that better matched his pristine image. But Frax was more than it appeared. Beneath its unusual exterior lay a sharp mind, honed by adversity. It understood more than most would give it credit for, and though it could not speak, its expressive eyes carried depths of emotion. Frax remembered the kindness of its first days, the gentle touches and sweet morsels fed to it before it was deemed ugly. It remembered Jintar's cold dismissal, the jeering laughter of his guests, and the hollow emptiness that followed. Those memories fueled a quiet resilience that kept it moving forward, even when the odds seemed insurmountable. The turning point came on a night like any other. The city hummed with the distant roar of starship engines and the rhythmic pulse of power grids. Frax, exploring the edges of an abandoned scrapyard, caught a flicker of light beneath a pile of debris. Curious, it dug through the rusted metal and broken machinery until its paw touched something cool and smooth. Brushing away the grime, Frax uncovered an object unlike anything it had ever seen. A spherical artifact etched with intricate patterns that glowed faintly under its touch. The object pulsed, sending a warm, tingling sensation through Frax's body. For a moment, it hesitated, its mismatched eyes narrowing as it tilted its head. The artifact felt alive. It hummed softly, almost as if it were speaking to Frax in a language it couldn't quite understand. Driven by instinct, Frax nudged the sphere, which emitted a low, resonant tone. The sound vibrated through the air, rippling outward in waves that seemed to distort the very fabric of space around it. The glow intensified, casting Frax in an otherworldly light that made its strange features appear almost majestic. Far above, in the crystalline towers of Valtrex Prime, alarms blared. The Zentari's advanced monitoring systems had detected the anomaly. Jintar, now engrossed in a meeting about expanding trade routes, paused mid-sentence as his communicator buzzed. The report was brief but urgent. An ancient energy signature had been activated in the lower districts, one that predated even Zentari civilization. Jintar dismissed the meeting with a wave, his mind racing. Ancient artifacts were rare and highly valuable, their origins shrouded in mystery. If this was what he thought it was, it could elevate his status among the elite. Back in the scrapyard, Frax stared at the artifact, uncertain of what to do. The sphere's glow faded, but the energy lingered in the air, a palpable tension that made the hairs along its back stand on end. Before it could decide whether to abandon the object or take it with him, the ground beneath Frax trembled. The artifact had sent out a signal, and something or someone was responding. Frax growled softly, instinctively lowering its body as the distant hum of approaching engines reached its ears. Shadows danced across the walls as a searchlight swept the area, and Frax realized it was no longer alone. A sleek Zentari patrol craft descended into the scrapyard, its engines whining as it hovered above the debris. Frax backed away, clutching the artifact protectively against its chest. It didn't understand what it had found, but it knew one thing: it couldn't let them take it. The patrol craft's hatch opened, and two Zentari soldiers stepped out, their movements precise and mechanical. They carried weapons that glimmered with deadly energy, their cold eyes scanning the area. One of them spotted Frax and raised a sleek, metallic device. "Unregistered bioform detected," the soldier announced, his voice devoid of emotion. "Surrender the artifact." Frax didn't wait. With a burst of agility that belied its ungainly appearance, it darted into the maze of scrap. Energy bolts sizzled through the air, narrowly missing as Frax weaved through the piles of debris. The artifact pulsed in its grasp, almost as if guiding its movements. Frax leapt over a rusted beam, its bioluminescent skin glowing brighter as adrenaline coursed through its body. It wasn't just running now, it was surviving. The chase was relentless, but Frax was determined. It didn't know why the artifact had chosen it or what power it held, but it felt a strange connection to the object, a sense of purpose it had never known. For the first time, Frax wasn't just a discarded creature scavenging for scraps. It was something more, something that could change everything. As the soldiers' shouts faded into the distance, Frax found refuge in a narrow alcove, hidden from sight. It cradled the artifact, its mismatched eyes reflecting its faint glow. For the first time in a long while, hope flickered within Frax. Whatever was happening, it wasn't just about survival anymore. Something far greater was unfolding, and Frax was at the heart of it. The artifact's pulse resonated across the galaxy, sending tremors through systems far and wide. It disrupted comms, scrambled navigational arrays, and caused anomalies even in the most advanced Zentari technologies. On the bridge of a grand Zentari cruiser, technicians frantically tried to decipher the strange signal, their sleek instruments flickering with erratic patterns. Among them stood Kara, a scientist whose curiosity often clashed with the rigid aesthetic doctrines of her people. Kara was different, her fascination with the unseen and the imperfect placing her on the fringes of Zentari society. The signal captivated her instantly. It was ancient, layered with complexity that eluded even their most advanced decryption systems. As Kara studied the data stream, her sharp eyes caught an anomaly within the transmission. It wasn't just a random burst of energy. It was patterned, deliberate, almost alive. Her superior dismissed it as a byproduct of old technology, but Kara wasn't so quick to accept that explanation. Something in the signal stirred her, a gut feeling she couldn't ignore. Without seeking permission, she linked her console to a private channel and began tracing the origin. The coordinates pointed to a forgotten sector of Valtrex Prime, a place where discarded things gathered dust. The implications gnawed at her mind. If an artifact of this magnitude had remained hidden there, it would challenge everything they believed about their supremacy. Meanwhile, Frax's heart pounded as it huddled deeper into the shadows of the scrapyard. The artifact lay against its chest, warm and faintly glowing. Its pulse seemed to synchronize with Frax's own heartbeat, filling the creature with a strange sense of calm despite the chaos that had erupted moments before. The memory of the patrol craft lingered, a reminder that it was now being hunted. The soldiers hadn't been there by coincidence. They had come for the artifact, and Frax knew instinctively that letting it fall into their hands would spell disaster. The artifact's influence on Frax was growing. Where before it had felt awkward and ungainly, now it moved with confidence, its limbs guided by an unspoken connection to the sphere. The wound on its paw had begun to heal, faint tendrils of light knitting the torn flesh together. Thoughts formed more sharply in Frax's mind, not quite language but clearer than the fragmented instincts it was used to. The artifact was doing something to it, changing it, though Frax couldn't yet comprehend the full extent of the transformation. The hum of engines broke the stillness again. Frax tensed, its mismatched eyes scanning the scrapyard for an escape route. A smaller craft descended, this one bearing no weapons or soldiers. From its hatch emerged a figure clad in a simple, yet elegant suit of shimmering fabric, their steps deliberate and unthreatening. Kara had followed the signal to its source, driven not by greed or orders, but by an insatiable need to understand. She paused as her gaze fell on Frax, her sharp Zentari features softening in surprise. Frax growled low in its throat, its body coiled to flee, but Kara raised her hand slowly. "I'm not here to hurt you," she said, her voice steady. "I only want to understand." Her eyes flicked to the artifact in Frax's grasp, its glow reflecting in her irises. "You've activated it, haven't you?" "Incredible. It responded to you." Kara took a cautious step forward, and Frax hesitated. Something about her presence felt different. Unlike the soldiers who had chased it, she didn't exude menace or disdain. Her expression wasn't one of revulsion, but curiosity, tinged with an emotion Frax had rarely encountered: compassion. The artifact pulsed faintly, as if urging Frax to trust her. Encouraged by the artifact's reaction, Kara knelt to appear less imposing. "You're not like anything I've seen before," she said softly. "And that artifact, it's ancient, older than anything we know. If it chose you, there must be a reason." Frax tilted its head, its glowing eyes fixed on her. Slowly, cautiously, it extended the artifact toward her, but the moment she reached out, the sphere flared brightly. Kara jerked back, shielding her eyes as the artifact emitted a series of tones, musical, harmonious, yet incomprehensible. Frax felt the vibrations ripple through its body, and in that moment, it understood something neither of them could put into words. The artifact was not merely a relic. It was alive, a remnant of a civilization that had long since vanished. It wasn't seeking power or control, but connection, a bond that transcended appearances and hierarchies. The brightness faded, and Kara lowered her arm, her expression a mix of awe and determination. "I was right," she murmured, mostly to herself. "This isn't just a discovery. It's a challenge to everything we think we know." The moment was cut short by the unmistakable roar of approaching engines. The patrol craft was back, its searchlights cutting through the scrapyard like blades. Kara stood abruptly, her mind racing. The soldiers wouldn't hesitate to destroy both Frax and the artifact if they deemed them a threat. She looked down at Frax, her voice urgent. "We have to move. Now." Frax didn't need further encouragement. With the artifact clutched tightly, it followed Kara as she sprinted toward her craft. The patrol craft's lights swept over them, and a sharp command echoed through the scrapyard. "Halt! Surrender the artifact immediately!" Kara ignored the order, her fingers flying over the controls as she activated the ship's engines. Frax scrambled aboard just as the patrol craft opened fire, energy bolts slamming into the ground around them. The small vessel lurched upward, its shields absorbing the first few hits before Kara engaged the thrusters. The force pinned Frax against the wall as the ship shot into the sky, leaving the soldiers and their craft behind. Inside the cockpit, Kara's hands gripped the controls tightly, her breathing uneven. She glanced over her shoulder at Frax, who had curled protectively around the artifact. "I don't know what's happening," she admitted, "but whatever this is, it's bigger than both of us." Frax's mismatched eyes met hers, and for the first time, it felt a spark of trust. The artifact pulsed again, brighter this time, as if acknowledging their fragile alliance. Kara set her jaw, determination hardening her features. They had escaped for now, But the Zentari wouldn't stop. The artifact's power was too great, its implications too threatening to their way of life. Together, they would have to uncover its secrets before it was too late. The stars streaked past the small craft as it hurtled through the void, its engines humming with strained resolve. Kara kept her hands steady on the controls, her mind calculating escape routes while the weight of the artifact's presence filled the cabin. Beside her, Frax crouched low, its mismatched eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. The artifact pulsed rhythmically in its grasp, casting intricate patterns on the walls that seemed almost alive. Every beat of its glow was a reminder of the danger pursuing them and the mystery that tied them together. Behind them, a Zentari fleet cut through the darkness, sleek ships bristling with weapons designed to subdue or destroy. The artifact's activation had drawn far more attention than either Kara or Frax could have anticipated. Kara's console lit up with alerts, proximity warnings blaring as the fleet closed in. She gritted her teeth, her fingers flying across the controls. "They're not going to let us go," she muttered, half to herself, half to Frax. "We need to find out why this thing is so important before they blast us into stardust." Frax tilted its head, its luminous eyes narrowing as if it understood her words. The artifact pulsed brighter, sending a wave of warmth through the cabin. Kara glanced at it, a flicker of awe breaking through her tension. The artifact wasn't just reacting, it was guiding them. A new set of coordinates appeared on her screen, unbidden and mysterious. They pointed to a sector deep within a nebula, a region uncharted even by Zentari standards. "Of course," Kara murmured, her voice tinged with disbelief. "You're leading us somewhere, aren't you?" The artifact didn't respond in words, but its light grew steadier, more deliberate. Kara adjusted their course, steering toward the coordinates while the Zentari fleet loomed ever closer. Energy bolts streaked past the ship, narrowly missing as Kara pushed the engines to their limits. Frax crouched lower, its bioluminescent skin flickering in time with the artifact's pulses. It was as if they were becoming one, creature and relic, united by an ancient purpose neither fully understood. The nebula unfolded before them like a tapestry of swirling colors, its dense clouds shimmering with hues that defied description. Kara's craft plunged into its depths, sensors flickering as interference scrambled the readings. The Zentari ships hesitated at the edge, their commanders wary of the nebula's chaotic energy. Kara allowed herself a brief smile. "They won't follow us in here, at least not immediately. Let's hope whatever's waiting for us is worth it." Inside the nebula, the artifact's glow intensified, illuminating a path through the swirling chaos. Kara followed it, her ship weaving through jagged debris and bursts of radiant energy. Frax clung tightly to the artifact, its body tense but unwavering. The closer they came to their destination, the more the air seemed to hum with anticipation, as though the nebula itself was alive, watching, waiting. Finally, they emerged into a tranquil pocket of space, where the nebula's vibrant colors gave way to a serene expanse of stars. At the center floated a massive structure, ancient and awe-inspiring. It resembled a cathedral carved from starlight, its towering spires reaching out like hands to cradle the heavens. Kara's breath caught in her throat. This is impossible. No records, no signs. How has this been hidden for so long?" Frax shifted, its gaze fixed on the structure. The artifact pulsed with an almost eager rhythm, urging them forward. Kara guided the ship toward an open platform that seemed designed for docking, despite the structure's apparent age. As the engines powered down, a strange silence enveloped them, heavy yet serene. Kara stepped out first, her boots echoing faintly on the polished surface. Frax followed, the artifact clutched in its strange limbs. The air inside the structure was thin but breathable, and the walls glowed faintly with a light that seemed to come from within. Kara's eyes darted around, taking in the intricate carvings that adorned every surface. They told a story, a history she couldn't fully grasp but felt deeply. Figures of all shapes and sizes were etched into the walls, their forms diverse and imperfect. Each one held a smaller, glowing sphere, identical to the artifact Frax carried. It wasn't about perfection, Kara whispered, her voice reverent. It was about unity, connection. Frax padded forward, drawn by an invisible force. At the center of the chamber, a pedestal awaited, its surface carved with symbols that matched those on the artifact. Without hesitation, Frax placed the sphere onto the pedestal. The room came alive with light, beams of energy shooting outward in every direction. The walls shifted, their carvings moving as though they were alive, and a deep, resonant voice filled the chamber. "Welcome, chosen one," the voice intoned, its tone neither male nor female, but something infinite. "You have awakened the echo of the first. Long ago, we sought to unite the galaxy, to transcend the barriers of form and appearance. You, frail and cast aside, have proven the strength of resilience and the power of the unseen." Kara stood frozen, her heart pounding as the voice continued. Frax gazed up at the glowing patterns, its mismatched eyes filled with something Kara could only describe as understanding. The voice spoke directly to Frax now, its words flowing like a song. "The artifact has chosen you to carry our legacy, to remind the galaxy of what was forgotten. The power within you will grow, not for conquest, but for compassion. Through you, the galaxy will see the beauty in all things." As the voice faded, the light dimmed, leaving Kara and Frax standing in silence once more. The artifact remained on the pedestal, its glow now steady and serene. Kara approached Frax, her expression softening. "You're more than they ever gave you credit for," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "And now you're going to change everything." Their moment of calm was short-lived. Outside, the Zentari fleet had finally braved the nebula, their ships emerging from the swirling clouds. Kara's ship's alarms blared to life, warning of the impending threat. She looked down at Frax, who stood taller now, its bioluminescent skin glowing with newfound confidence. The artifact's energy had imbued it with a quiet strength, a resolve that even the Zentaris' might could not diminish. Kara placed a hand gently on Frax's back. "We're not done yet," she said, determination hardening her voice. "If they want to fight, they'll see just how much one ugly creature can do." As the first shots rang out, Frax turned toward the platform's edge, its glow intensifying. The battle was far from over, but the galaxy had already begun to change, and the Zentari were about to learn a lesson they would never forget.